time. Matt and Myra breaks down yesterday's Microsoft press conference and their potential iPad killer in the loop. Plus, we get a peek into the mind of comic artist Jim Mafood, whose art has brought Spider-Man and X-Men to life. Then Chris Gore takes us to some strange places in TV Tuesday, including the hippie colony of Wonderlust and the post-apocalyptic battleground known as the FP. And we learn where Stallone and the Avengers get their wonderful toys when Weston Scott checks out the biggest weapons of this summer's blockbusters. It's all happening right now, and there's no escape.
Sweet hosting goodness with stand-up comic and Twitter pro Rob Delaney.
Hello, everyone. We are live on television.
Yes, we are, and I have a solution today.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Oh, no, that's not.
That doesn't work.
Come off of that.
That doesn't work at all.
I don't like that.
Oh, well, I try. So, Rob, how was yesterday, your first show?
I'm going to be
Did you
honest
enjoy
with
yourself?
you. I had a wonderful time. You were very nice to me.
Oh.
Sarah was very nice to me. Matt and Myra was also on the show. And, I had a good time.
I'm glad. Did your family see it?
Yes,
or...
as a matter of fact, yes. My mom watched it. My stepdad actually sent me like a detailed bullet-pointed email about what he liked about the show. He's like, "Wow, they really talk all about the cars and how you got to get one of those notebooks." So yeah, my dad, he's a new convert to the show.
Oh, well, yay, we got another! Yay!
So now, what did you do with your evening since I last saw you?
Breaking Bad. Oh, I'm obsessed. I just started watching it. Just finished season 1. Now I'm like halfway through season 2.
Yeah.
It is so good. Do you watch it?
I do. I think it's such a good show. I think they should call it Breaking Terrific. Oh! Sorry.
Can we get a wah-wah? A Florence?
You should. There should be a terrible sound effect for that.
There you go.
Thank you.
Oh, you want to run down the top things on the web?
Yes. Let's do this around the net deal again.
You got it. July is right around the corner.
But thanks to an unexpected factory fire, it looks like someone decided to celebrate early.
When Bobby kissed a girl, he saw fireworks.
Yes. And that video that we just watched is kind of like what I see when I make out with my Dame Judi Dench body pillow. What, I have a Dame Judi Dench body pillow. Excuse me for appreciating impeccable Shakespearean drama.
To each his own, I guess.
Up next, a tribute to one of America's greatest pastimes.
Oh, baseball.
No.
Oh.
Cool that those young Mormon fellas were able to pull that together.
You don't know that they are Mormons.
Of course they were. You're not even allowed to buy a short-sleeve dress shirt if you're not Mormon.
Okay. I don't know where you're going with this.
Yeah, no. But you know what? I don't think Mormons are supposed to be drinking, though, so...
Oh, yeah, they're not.
I may have to tell Mitt Romney about those guys. I don't think he'll be happy. He might even take away one of their planets.
Oh, no! Not another
And now,
one.
duck!
Little ducky.
Frankly, I found that video terrifying. You know, a lot of people think that lizards are the most direct descendants of dinosaurs, but it's not, Candace. It's birds.
Okay, I know.
Yeah.
I saw Jurassic Park 2, Rob.
Look, I don't think you have any idea how terrifying a bird can really be. I mean, you know, a goose could break your arm just with its wings. You got to be careful. I can't tell you that you won't walk out of here and get killed by a bird today.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so I've edited the video and I added some music to up the terror factor a little more. Take a look. Is it over yet? I mean, that's better though.
That was still the cutest thing I've ever seen. I'm sorry. Not scary. You know, we never seem to have enough videos from church.
Amen. It's about time that an elderly church choir got down to Nellie's stripperific song about rising ambient room temperature. Hot in here.
It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes.
I'm getting so hot, I wanna take my robe off.
It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes.
I am getting so hot, I wanna take my robe off.
No. Leave it to old people to make a song about getting sexy sound like a whining complaint.
You know, if you get one of those erections that lasts longer than 4 hours, doctors actually prescribe that video.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That would work. And finally, an amazing news report from China.
Apparently, villagers in a small town found an unusual mushroom.
Spoiler alert, it wasn't a mushroom.
老蹦子，
那这个两边呢都是有这个蘑菇头的形状，上面呢是有一个我们可以看到像嘴巴的东西，而下方呢则是一个小孔，是直接通透的，摸上去啊是非常的光滑。这个东西的身长呢也大概就在19公分左右，而同时呢这个东西呢比较适合在我们陕西的秦岭山脉是成长的，由于它这个生长的环境。
I don't understand what's so special about that plant. I have those things growing all over my house. They make a terrific gift bouquet.
I don't think that's a plant, Rob.
No, sure it is. I'm sort of into botany. Its Latin name is Incerticus weenicus, which it translates literally into the farmer's friend.
Oh, okay.
Still ahead, Chris Gore's got the DVD scoop. We'll find out whether Wanderlust and Superman versus the Elite are worth your money dollars.
Plus, we'll learn all about Jim Mafood, one of the comic book scene's most original and prolific artists. Stick around. Wherever there are DVDs, Chris Gore won't be far behind. Welcome back, film expert Chris Gore. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Nice to have
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
All right.
Right.
What do we have first?
Wanderlust.
Whoa, there are a lot of really funny people in this film.
Okay, yeah, Ken Marino, David Wayne of Wayne Days. So a lot of people from the state. And of course, Paul Rudd and Jennifer Aniston. Jennifer Aniston, if you like her.
Funny people.
Yes, yeah. So this is a story about this couple that kind of they try to make it in the big city, but they fail miserably. So they end up at this bed and breakfast populated by a bunch of free-loving hippies.
Yeah. Did you think it was funny?
I thought it definitely was funny. I mean, you know, on the plus side, you got Paul Rudd. On the downside, I'm not a big Jennifer Aniston fan, but Malin Ackerman's in it.
And I'm sure you love her.
A lot of drugs, too. They do a lot of drugs in this. Another possible downside, a whole lot of full frontal male nudity.
Oh, I know. It was just horrible.
It was horrible, and I felt a little uncomfortable till I found out that was a prosthetic the whole time. There's a whole behind the scenes on Joe Trulio's prosthetic. Nah.
Well, I really enjoyed the film.
Oh, you did? Yeah,
I did.
I did as well. I thought it was a lot of fun. And just like, you can never go wrong with Paul Rudd.
No.
He's a guy you just don't know what's going to happen. I think he's hysterical. And just sort of thrown into this situation with these hippies. You love them at first, but they do get annoying. They do get annoying, these hippies.
They do.
Yeah, after a while. Bottom line, I will tell you, it's worth the rent. It's definitely.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
was going to say Rent.
Yeah.
All right.
Really good time.
What's our next DVD?
The FP.
Now, this film is about dancing games in a post-apocalyptic world?
Yes, exactly.
I'm confused.
It's
Explain,
about
please.
these people. It's sort of a suburban wasteland that's populated by these rival gangs that fight in BBR, which is Beat Beat Revelation.
Oh.
So it's this game that they play, and one of the characters, his brother, dies playing BBR. And
What
it's
happens
up
to
to
him
him.
with his eye right there? Does he have
He's
his
got an
eye
eye
poked
patch.
out?
He's got an eye patch.
Oh,
He's got an eye
that's
patch.
all?
It's a cool thing. You
Oh,
should
okay.
start wearing an eye patch.
Oh, nah.
They are trendy these days.
Nah, I don't know.
But he's got to come back a year later and sort of take the throne away from this rival gang. And the guy, the lead villain in this is so funny. He does competitive vomiting. Which
What?
it's
What does that
something.
mean?
It's something that I learned on the commentary that actually these guys would do just to be so competitive. They'd take bets on who could throw up first in parking lots. It's a real thing.
That is so bizarre to me. I don't
I-
understand why anyone would want to throw up.
I thought that too. And saying it's bizarre, it's pretty bizarre.
Exactly.
It's really bizarre.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what's the bottom line?
Bottom line is rent it. It's really worth seeing. Really
Really?
cool
Like,
indie.
would I like it?
Very creative. You would not like it.
Okay, so I won't rent it, but y'all should rent it.
Rent for everyone else. Pass
okay,
for her.
done. What else do you have to check out?
We have Superman versus the Elite.
Now, what's a
Fictional country called Bialya where there are terrorists. And the leader, Bialya, yeah.
Okay.
And the elite just say, you know what? We're just going to go there and we're just going to kill the terrorists. And what ends up happening is the elite actually becomes really popular around the world. Like, hey, these guys are taking people out.
Yeah.
He doesn't,
Killing the
Superman
bad
doesn't
guys.
kill the bad guys. He just he wants to be an example. So it really deals with a lot of philosophical questions coming from Zack Snyder and producers Christopher Nolan. I
Yeah.
cannot wait for that.
Okay. So
and then-
bottom line?
Bottom line, it's a buy for me, especially because loaded with extras, including a preview of The Dark Knight Returns. Frank Miller's 4-issue comic book series is coming as a 2-part cartoon on DVD. And
Awesome.
I'm gonna
2 rents
get
and a
back
buy.
to that.
Now we have a little bit of time for a quick
Oh
break.
yes, let's do it. It's Louis, which if you've been watching the show, Louis C.K. He's one of my all-time favorites. He's like a modern-day Woody Allen, but he would not date his stepdaughter or marry her even. He would not marry his stepdaughter. That's
a good thing.
He
Thanks,
is.
Chris. For more Gore,
Thank
check
you.
out his podcast on iTunes. And now, meet a comic book maestro.
My name is Jim Mafood, aka Food One, and I am a freelance artist.
Jim Mafood, also known as Food One, is one of the most well-known talents in today's art scene.
Hey, what's up, man? Welcome.
His work has been featured everywhere from comic books to beer cans and everything in between. So how does this Midwestern kid from St. Louis go from self-publishing his comics to becoming one of the most prominent artists working in any medium today?
Growing up, I kind of got into comic books and animation and that kind of culture very early on and started drawing very early on, so it always stuck with me. And then by the time I, got to like junior high or high school and realized that I was really serious about this art thing.
Jim was so serious about his craft that he enrolled at the Kansas City Art Institute and began self-publishing his own work under the label 40 Ounce Comics.
I formed 40 Ounce Comics with my friend, this guy named Mike Huddleston, in 1993 when I first got to Kansas City. None of the major companies were hiring us. After dealing with rejection for so long or whatever, we eventually were just like, screw it, let's just start doing our own stuff.
Check me out, y'all.
From the start, it was obvious that Jim had an incredibly unique style that was influenced by everything from 80s cartoons to the world of hip-hop. It wasn't long before he got his first big break when he was tasked with creating a comic for Marvel's Generation X series.
The Generation X Underground special with Marvel came about, and the idea was for me to just do like a Generation X annual for that year under the X-Men department of titles, and they let me write it, pencil, ink it, and letter it, which was completely bizarre. I don't think it would ever happen again today.
The book was immediately recognized for its subversive narrative and distinctive style and brought Jim his first taste of critical and commercial success. It also caught the eye of filmmaker and comic book geek Kevin Smith. The Clerk's creator was so enamored with Jim's work that he handpicked him to do the artwork for the comic book adaptation of the film.
I'm not even supposed to be here today! Oh, you!
Food One quickly gained recognition as one of the best young talents in the comic industry and started working on high-profile franchises like Spider-Man and X-Men. But he still needed a home to tell his own stories, so in 2001, he linked up with Image Comics and published a number of acclaimed series like Stupid Comics and Girl Scouts.
The thing that I like so much about working with them is it's almost like self-publishing, where you pitch them the project you want to do. If they say yes, you sort of just make the project on your own, uninterrupted. I like that pressure, and I like the freedom, and I usually produce my best work when I'm completely left alone.
Jim decided to expand his Food One empire after he was approached by Colt 45 to help launch a new ad campaign. It was a huge success, and it became clear that Jim's style lent itself to more than just the page. He was commissioned to do more commercial work for companies like Nissan and Bedhead.
And the commercial stuff, it keeps me on my toes, because when you get a template for a car or a Bedhead hair product or a can of beer, you're forced to think of how is this imagery going to work on this template. It's a different mindset, but I like being able to switch back and forth.
But his mainstream success doesn't mean he'll be abandoning his comic book roots anytime soon. He created an online strip a few years ago called Los Angeles Inkstains that he still publishes every few weeks for free on his website.
I like the webcomic format. You just draw it, put it up, it's on the internet, people can read it at their leisure. The comics themselves are a celebration of enjoying life, having a good time, hanging out with your friends, making art, traveling, eating good food, having a strong drink, and documenting this weird, surreal sort of freelance lifestyle.
On top of that, he recently finished doing the art for the new Tank Girl project and is currently doing an animated show for MTV called Disco Destroyer.
Long term, I always see things evolving. So like the MTV cartoon is a perfect example of like the next step. Improving my style, letting it evolve, but always still having one foot in like the stuff I love. Like I truly love the medium of comic books. I think it's one of the purest art forms there's ever been. But at the same time having other projects that kind of elevate the art. You can't be stagnant or you'll get boring and your stuff will suffer, it will die. So I'm always about moving forward and kind of, knocking down barriers and seeing what happens.
Wherever the next evolution of his art takes him, you can guarantee we'll be keeping a close eye on Jim Mafood and his one-of-a-kind voice.
Jim Mafood's newest book, LA Inkstains, will be in stores tomorrow.
Still ahead, we'll get the lowdown on Microsoft's new Surface tablet in the loop.
And later, Weston Scott handles weapons from the summer's biggest movies, including Avengers and Expendables 2. Stick around.
Yeah, stay there. Stick around.
Microsoft had a big announcement yesterday, and guess what? It wasn't the cancellation of a product. Quite the opposite. The loop scratches the surface. Joining me from San Francisco, senior editor for CNET, Seth Rosenblatt. Welcome.
How's it going, guys?
It's going, Seth. So you were at Microsoft's live event yesterday. Let's talk about what the Surface is. That's a word we heard 1,000,000 times during that press conference. What is the Surface?
It's not a table, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Microsoft Surface is a line of 2 tablets. Microsoft has designed them in-house We don't know who's making them for Microsoft, but they will both be running Windows 8. One version is running Windows RT. It's sort of a Windows 8 Lite. The other one is running Windows 8 Pro, the sort of hulked out version.
So that's not Windows Retweet. It's Windows RT.
And it's not Windows Runtime. They haven't actually said what Windows RT means.
Yeah, we don't know who's making the product. Does Microsoft know who's making the product?
Well, let's hope so.
So you got your hands on it. What were your thoughts on it initially?
I did.
Yeah.
I didn't get a lot of time with it. Nobody did. They were very restrictive about who could touch it and how long they could touch it. It was actually very interesting to hold. It felt very comfortable in one hand. It felt comfortable in two hands. It did not feel like I wanted to stab somebody with it.
Sure.
I felt like that with the Samsung Tab.
Just want you to know that the crew here is very childish and giggling at everything you just said. But yeah, so let's talk about the big thing, of course, is the type cover, which you can touch. This keyboard, it's a cover that's also a keyboard. Let's talk about that a little bit.
That's right.
Did you use it?
There's two. Yes, I didn't use it to type. I did use it to sort of pound on and see how it felt. There's the type cover and there's the touch cover.
Yep.
The touch cover is the super thin one, and Microsoft says that it's going to allow you to really experience typing into a tablet without having that sort of soft keyboard wonkiness.
Yeah, that seems to be a problem for a lot of people. But this market, I feel like this market is sort of a market of people that maybe Microsoft doesn't want. It's the people that want a keyboard on a tablet, and they're sort of ignoring the way everything is moving. They're like the old people that would always ask me, when is the iPad going to print? And I'd be like,
yeah, right.
Don't worry about it. You have
Exactly.
the future in your hands. But Steve Ballmer sees the Surface as something that will prime the pump for Windows 8. Do you agree with that? Windows 8's finally coming?
I think he's right. I don't think he's necessarily right in the way that that he wants to be. I think what's going to wind up happening is that the Surface is going to sort of prime the pump for OEM development of Windows 8 tablets. I think that's really where it's going to start driving stuff. And that's where Microsoft's innovation in hardware have always sort of come. People have seen what Microsoft's done when it comes to Windows, and they've used that to sort of springboard into bigger and better things.
Yeah, now Microsoft seems to be learning from the competition. The competition, of course, being Apple.
Right.
Now, are you seeing a lot? I mean, this is just totally iPad influence, and they're trying to break into. We were talking during the break about you saying that there is no tablet market. There is an iPad market.
Right. Exactly.
And they want to get a piece of that, and they're finally seeming to do that. And I see that some of that learning seems to be inherent in the fact that they have finally decided to make the hardware as well as the software this time out. Would you agree with that?
Well, absolutely. I think they realized that they were doing an operating system that was completely different from the old Windows, and they needed to give it hardware that was going to make it just as unique.
Yeah, and I think it's a good move for them to have control over both the software and the hardware. It seems to be a smart thing that they have done in the past with the Zune, but we'll not get into that yet. Do you have a guess as to when the Surface will be released and how much it will cost?
Yeah, absolutely. We're pretty sure that it's going to be coming out around the same time as other Windows 8 hardware, so we're expecting October, maybe November. And for the low-end Windows RT Surface, we're probably expecting around $500. That's the ARM-powered one.
Yep.
The Windows 8 Pro one, which is running an Intel chip, is probably going to be closer to about $1,000, I would expect, maybe $700 to $800.
Yeah, that's really pushing the Ultrabook market. I guess that's what they're going for.
Exactly.
With that. But Microsoft is hit or miss with their products for every sort of wonderful Windows operating system, or not wonderful. You've got the Xbox, which was great. Xbox is a great thing, but then you have the Zune and the Kin, which are kind of products that they launched with a lot of fanfare and then didn't really stick with it. Do you think that they're going to stick with the Surface?
I think they have to.
Yeah.
I think this is the company's biggest Hail Mary ever, and I think on some level it's going to work. Whether it works in Windows 9 or whether Windows 8 actually takes off I think is a very different story, and it's going to depend on price points for these devices. It's going to depend on apps as well. And right now, granted, the Windows 8 store is still in development, but there just isn't the app catalog that will carry it.
Yeah, and you see that too with the Windows Phone, for instance. The app store is it's minimal at best. But we're just going to wait and see. So thank you so much to Seth Rosenblatt from CNET for helping us.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Seth. And now, over to Candace.
Thank you, Matt. Stay tuned. Wes Scott visits Hollywood's Armory, where weapons for the Avengers are stored. Stick around. Yeah. This kid's about to do a trick on his fancy new age skateboard. So what happens next? Does he fail and fall on his ass? Does the board hit him in the nuts? Or does the board slip out and hit the camera? Find out when we return. This kid's about to do a trick on his fancy new age skateboard. So what happens next? Does he fail and fall on his ass? Does the board hit him in the nuts? Or does the board slip out and hit the camera? That's what you get for hanging out with the kid who has the weird skateboard. Yeah, that's what you get.
Oh, hey, it's my old friend Twitter.
Oh, hey, Twitter.
How's it going, buddy?
Let's see, Killboy929, it needs to happen for a whole episode. Candace, wear the eye patch.
You should wear an eye patch.
Well,
What? You have an eye
happen
patch?
to have one.
That's bananas.
This is very
Wow.
pretty. Arr! This is going to be interesting trying to read the prompter.
I know, right?
So, for your tweet, we're sending you a 16 gig iPad and 3 Denzel Washington Blu-rays, courtesy of Denzel's Safe House, available on DVD and Blu-ray now.
I could have helped you read that, but
Yeah,
I really
you
wanted to
could've.
hear you try and say that.
I cheated.
If you want to be part of the show and end up on our Twitter wall, tweet us at AOTS or use the hashtag AOTS.
And now, a little birdie told me that we have news.
That birdie has a name, Candace, and it's Sarah Underwood.
Oh, hey, Sarah!
Hey, I'm a bird. Thanks, guys. Let's start the feed.
All the news you need to know.
Feed.
It's Tuesday, June 19th. It's my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. She has DirecTV. And here are your top stories. Zuckerberg is continuing his acquisition rampage as he just snatched up Face.com. The deal was made for an undisclosed amount, and it's unclear what their plans are for the site's facial recognition platform. Some say that Face.com might end up redirecting to Facebook, while others think it's a step towards super accurate automated photo tagging on Facebook. So you won't have to worry about your friend who took a picture of your drunk ass and tagged it for the whole world to see, because Facebook's gonna do it for you. Good guys, they're good guys over there. A Swedish artist is planning to recreate the sci-fi classic Blade Runner frame by frame using nothing but watercolor paintings. It's kind of cool. He recently uploaded a 13-minute teaser for the ambitious project, which features 3,285 watercolor images. Unfortunately, the artist can't confirm when the project will be finished, but if I were to venture a guess, I'd say we're probably going to have to wait a while to see it in all of its glory. It's cool. Yeah, we all agree. Okay, next story. Hey guys, I have a question for you. Okay, you love the Transformers movies, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was hoping for a yes. Yay! Have you ever wanted to fight Decepticons yourself? Yes. Well, guess what?
What?
Now you can! Yes! The Transformers 3D ride recently opened at Universal Studios Hollywood. A huge staff of artists worked with director Michael Bay, who was the creative consultant on the 60,000 square foot, 2,000 foot long, 60-mile-an-hour ride that boasts 34 custom-built screens measuring over 80 feet tall. With the breakthrough 3D glasses that are far superior to traditional 3D specs, you'll feel just like Shia. So get your ass to Universal Studios Hollywood now and tell them Sarah Underwood sent you. It's not going to get you anything, but just tell them anyway. And finally, a few weeks back, we showed you the first teaser for Paul Thomas Anderson's mysterious new movie, The Master. Well, earlier today, a new teaser was quietly released that gives a few more insights into Joaquin Phoenix's twisted psyche and reveals the master himself, played by the one and only Philip Seymour Hoffman. The Master hits select theaters October 12th. I am Sarah Underwood, and you have just been fed. and Candace.
Thanks, Sarah. Got another pirate next to me. This summer, several blockbuster movies featured giant projectile weapons, and people unexpectedly exploded.
Oh, it's true. In fact, that was my favorite part of What to Expect When You're Expecting.
Wes and Scott went to the company behind all the heavy hardware you see on screen.
When Hollywood wants to go out with a bang, they go to the one-stop shop for everything that goes boom. That's ISS, Independent Studio Services, one of the world's largest suppliers of props and movie guns. The Avengers. This is certain femme fatale's weapon.
Absolutely. You know, that's a little bit of a smaller handgun, so you usually carry them in pairs. It's the latest generation of weaponry from Glock. It's lightweight polymer, rust resistant, very, very dependable. Most of the law enforcement world has gone to it, and since SHIELD is a global law enforcement agency, it's logical that that would be the type of weapon that they would use. Nick Fury, the director of SHIELD, has to put the hammer down on some bad guys that are escaping from his hover platform, and so he has to reach for something like this. This is the Airtronics USA RPG. It's a basic RPG design that's been updated here in the United States. You can see different rail systems on it, different shoulder stock systems on it, all those things that, again, it's recognizable as an RPG, but it's just that little bit of difference that makes it that wow factor for the movies.
Expendables 2. A lot of action, a lot of weapons.
That is the AA-12. It is the most modern outgrowth of the original Atchison automatic shotgun. This dates back to the 70s, really. It's fairly lightweight. It's got slow rate of fire, so the recoil doesn't overpower it.
This is a grenade launcher, correct?
Absolutely. It's the Milcor M32. The United States Marine Corps has used them extensively in Iraq and Afghanistan. It is one of the more modern extensions of the grenade launcher. If you think of the M203, which was a single barrel weapon slung under an M16 in Vietnam, now you have a multiple round weapon.
So you may have seen this weapon in the movie Battleship. Rihanna gets behind it and lays down some heavy fire. Larry, what do we have here?
Well, we have the M134G minigun. The original gun that this was based off of is a 20-millimeter cannon that goes up inside of an aircraft that's about 3 times larger than this. So when they designed it and scaled it down, it became the minigun. This is an original GE receiver that's been upgraded by Garwood Industries to the most modern, advanced state of the minigun right now. You would see this in the Navy, in the Air Force, in the Special Forces, exactly in this configuration.
And Larry, because this is a manual, this can be fired just like a regular weapon. All you gotta do is flip the switch, put in your blanks, and let it rip, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'll cause damage. So Larry, take me through some of the blanking process. What are the procedures that we go through with the actual rounds to make them safe?
If this, let's say, is a real cartridge and it's in a weapon system where it's going to build up pressure behind this projectile and finally shoot the projectile downrange, well, we're dealing with blanks, and you can see there is no projectile there. We have to come up with some means of duplicating the effects that the projectile would have as far as the mechanism goes without having the effects of the projectile downrange. We have 4 people who work in our shop as full-time gunsmiths, and they spend every day and sometimes weekends coming up with different ways to make these weapons work on blanks.
ISS has been awesome enough to let me fire the AA-12, which is used by Terry Crews in Expendables 1 and 2. Weapons hot? Yeah, there's a little bit of kickback on that, I would say. So this is why it is so important to be safe and have the professionals around like the guys from ISS. Even though we weren't shooting real shells, the shotgun wads and some of the gunpowder and everything like that, it left this damage at 10 feet in a piece of cardboard. Kids, this is definitely something you're not going to want to play with at home.
Not all ninjas creep in the shadows. The American ones wear jogging shorts and hop around for money.
Yes, they do. With $500,000 on the line, who can blame them?
Very nimble through the quad steps, a good sign going forward. Ahmed feels the endurance he developed as a cross-country runner will be a plus on this course. And he's through the log grip onto the Bridge of Blades.
Well, he's also a rock climber. That should help here at the jump hang. Oh, didn't get as high as I'd like to see. That'll cost him time and energy getting up and over.
This is a tough, tough kid, and he's handling this course accordingly.
Well, the key here is momentum. So far, so good, looking great. That may have been the most efficient run through the rope junction we've seen so far.
Ahmed Touré time just over a minute.
Just running directly into the wall. That is not going to get it done.
And a great adjustment, learning on the fly. Ahmed Touré to the top of the warp wall.
Impressive! Wilson will become the first ever American Ninja Warrior. Don't miss the Southeast Finals tonight at 9/8 Central on G4.
You can also get caught up with G4 Video on Demand. For more information, visit facebook.com. Facebook.com.
Or Facebook.
Facebook. Or Facebook.com/Ninja Warrior USA.
USA! Still ahead, we upgrade your movie know-how.
Things get happy right after this.
Tomorrow on Attack of the Show.
Aaron Wasson, the star of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, will be here to learn us on some undead American history. Then media experts Ralph Garman and Ryan Downey will drop by with their film and TV tips and what to watch. And a robotic hand that will creep the hell out of you in a new edition of Robot News.
It's Attack of the Show tomorrow at 7.
So, people love movies and people love smartphone apps.
Yeah.
So what do you get when you marry the two?
Movie apps. Look, you need to make these harder, Candace. You know, if middle school were this easy, I would have graduated instead of sitting in the corner eating paste.
No.